the 32nd edition of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Florida Classic comes to an end with Bethune-Cookman erasing the disappointment of last year with a 26-16 victory. Mike Walker, Ron Mitchell, and I had the call on HSRN, and this was a win for Bethune-Cookman that really was more about the credibility of the program as opposed to just winning a football game.
Yeah, they came into this game losing, dropping the last 3 games. Last year, coming in undefeated, there was a puncher's chance. But this year, it was a little doubt, but they came in and solidified the win. And Coach Jenkins made the point last year he was going to beat FAMU in the Classic.
Well, when you talk about Florida A&M, this is a team that had a prolific passing attack. They had won 5 of 6 games with a true freshman quarterback. And today, Damian Fleming made some spectacular plays, but he also made some freshman plays. Was it about him, Mike, making mistakes? I got the sense that his receivers really didn't help him out a lot.
I think he played a tremendous game. He did a lot of things that I thought were really senior-like in terms of his performance, but then he had some freshman mistakes. Didn't get the support that he needed out of his receivers, and I think that was the difference in the game.
When you talk about Bethune-Cookman, this is the 6th rated rush offense in America, and they gouged Florida A&M for over 250 yards. They had 4 backs with over 50 yards. I mean, you look at this running attack, boy, they really cranked it up, and FAMU had no answers.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Most times you want to see a team that has a prolific passing attack, then you know you're going to have more spectacular plays. This running game will lull you to sleep, but at the same time is very potent.
When you look at Bethune-Cookman, there's a great deal of argument right now that they should be worthy of a Division I AA or FCS subdivision playoff berth. If you're the defense attorney right now and you got to make a case for them, what would that case be?
I tell the judge, listen, you have to excuse one game, and that's the North Carolina A&T game where they lost 22-3. It was right after a big game against a BCS opponent, Miami, and they took a drubbing, and I just don't think physically they were ready to play that game. But that's the one they have to erase. If you look at the remaining body of work that the Bethune-Cookman had, it's definitely worthy of a playoff spot.
And Ron, as a Florida guy who played your high school football here, who knows football in the state, looking at Florida A&M, this is football country. You think about the Gators. You think about the Seminoles. You think about the Canes. There's the Knights here at Central Florida. You've also got Florida International and Florida Atlantic. Where do Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman rank amongst all these very talented football-playing schools in the state?
Well, they're still at the bottom of the pack because the notoriety of playing more than 4 TV games on a national level against, you know, major Division I programs. But at the same time, they have outstanding previous All-Americans, and the program is still in a growing capacity. They have a great freshman quarterback, and I'm pretty sure a lot of transfers have come in to these programs after their little stint with these Division I programs and say, hey, this is a place I can call home.
Well, no less than 8 contributing members of the Bethune-Cookman roster are transfers. You look at places like Rutgers and Maryland and Ole Miss where players couldn't get a whole lot of burn, Mike. They now found a spot at Bethune-Cookman, and it looks like Brian Jenkins is being very judicious in the way that he brings in transfers from major programs to help augment his program.
It's a credit to the way he sells Bethune-Cookman. Clearly he's letting these guys know, as Ron mentioned, that you have an opportunity to start to play here and make something happen for yourselves. You know, you may not have had a chance to go to Miami, but we play Miami. So that's the next best thing. If you can make it work against Miami, then you are worthy of getting to the next level. And that's what a lot of these HBCU schools are starting to offer.
Well, one thing about the Florida Classic, and if you choose to play your college football at Bethune-Cookman or Florida A&M, you are guaranteed to play before 70,000 screaming Floridians every year, and for at least the time being, it will be right here in the Florida Citrus Bowl. The 32nd edition of the Florida Classic presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield goes to Bethune-Cookman, and the tradition begins anew as they hope the dominance goes up I-4 to Daytona Beach. For my man, Ron Mitchell, and you know something, you think he can hook us up with Club 3002 again this evening?
I hope so, bro, because I'm looking to go somewhere.
This is no longer the mayor of Orlando. He is officially the Secretary of State.
I will be in your town running for office soon.
And dude, I'm just going to be his press secretary. Mike Walker, you're on your way to New Orleans and Montgomery. You got the Turkey Day and the Bayou Classic, and then we'll hook up again in Birmingham for the SWAC Championship. Can't wait for that.
We're going to wrap this thing up the way HSRN can only do, with one of the oldest classics in the HBCU community, which is this Turkey Day Classic, and then the SWAC Championship.
And then, of course, Ron Mitchell, the rookie, who never once carried a bag or brought us any donuts, but he did get us in the club 3002.
I carried bags in Atlanta, countless cities.
Yeah.
I even chauffeured my man LG.
The only bags you carried were the ones that were from baggage claim that had your gator shoes in them. Anyway, the final score from here in Orlando, the Florida Classic goes to Bethune-Cookman 26-16 over Florida A&M. For Mike Walker and Ron Mitchell, I'm Mark Gray. As always, we look to see you at the ballpark.
This has been a presentation of Sports Groove TV and Heritage Sports Radio Network, the voice of HBCU sports.